welcome to the Google Apps Q3 2010 Innovation and Review webinar. For those of you who may have attended the previous webinar, we walk through all these things every few months to give you an update on the steady stream of innovation that's happening in Google Apps. So let's take a look at our agenda. We're going to start with a brief word on our focus at innovation at Google. And then we'll actually do a deep dive into what are the new features that have launched in the last few months, going into Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Docs, Google Sites, some security-specific features we've launched recently, some new updates in the Google Apps Marketplace, and some brand new administrative controls we've launched for the admin side of the Google Apps control panel. We'll end with just a brief word on how to keep up with Google Apps updates. As we go through this presentation, you'll notice blue links at the bottom of each page where you can go to get more information about each of the launches we'll cover. But I wanted to start with a brief word on innovation. So today, Google Apps Premier Edition is the most affordable way for organizations to deliver business-grade messaging and collaboration tools to their employees. But as other vendors reduce their prices, it's really Google's innovation advantage that will continue to set Google Apps apart. And to conceptualize or illustrate this, we have these two curves, and I wanted to really ask the question, which innovation curve would you rather be on? The blue curve represents the step-ladder pace of innovation, typical of legacy client-side solutions, where you get big upgrades to a suite of products that you use every couple of years. The red line we like to think of as representative of Google Apps, where you get a steady stream of innovation throughout the year. And this presentation will really highlight that. So we've launched more than 40 improvements just in the past 3 months to our Google Apps suite. And with that said, let's actually take a look. We're going to start today's presentation with a look at Gmail and Google Calendar. Now, the point with these two products in Google Apps is really to provide the best messaging and calendaring solution for businesses. So we've launched a number of new features and innovations over the last few months to help us achieve that goal. Starting with Unthreaded View in Gmail. And this is really fresh off the press, as we have just made this announcement as of 7 minutes ago on our Enterprise and Gmail blogs. And so some of you will recognize this as one of the long-standing feature asks that we've had from large enterprises in the past few months. But let's give you some background. So, at Google, we didn't build Gmail to work like all the other email options out there. We launched with a full gigabyte of storage per person, which is now 25 gigabytes for business users. Lightning-fast Google search built into the inbox. We use labels instead of folders. And we have a lot of other tools to help you better cope with lots of information. Now, while most Gmail users find that these features and newer improvements like Priority Inbox, which we'll go into on the next slide, save a lot of time, naturally there are people who want to keep using email in more familiar ways. And so Conversation View is perhaps Gmail's most hotly debated feature. People either love message threading or they passionately dislike it. Threading enthusiasts, find that they spend less mental energy trying connections between related messages, and their inbox are a lot less cluttered. But on the other side of the debate, email traditionalists, like many former Microsoft Outlook users, saying that Conversation View unnecessarily complicates something that's worked fine for them for years. So, we really hoped all the naysayers would fall in love with Conversations, but we came to realize that it's just not right for everyone. And so today, we were happy to introduce a new choice to make both sides of the debate equally happy. So an alternative to Conversation View, or really the ability to turn it off. So in the screenshot here, you'll notice at the top, there's an image of an inbox with Conversation View enabled. So the default way you would see your inbox in Gmail, where in the first line here, Naomi sent a message and then Otman replied. And in the second line, Hisham sent out a message, Mary replied, and Naomi replied after that. So these messages are grouped by conversation. You'll see in the second screenshot, lower on the screen, that if you turn off Conversation View, each of these messages gets its own line in your inbox. So once again, something that many users have been asking for some time, and so we were happy to accommodate that choice as of today. The next big innovation we launched in Gmail this quarter is Priority Inbox. So once again, I wanted to give you some background on this one. The average corporate worker sends and receives more than 150 messages per day, with emails of varying importance. You get key project updates from colleagues, requests from higher-ups, appointment reminders, and automated mail that's often much less important. And so with so much information to process, simply figuring out what needs to be read and what needs to be replied to takes a lot of time. So to that end, we introduced Priority Inbox Data in Gmail. This is a new experimental way to information overload. Priority inbox is a new view of your inbox that automatically helps you focus on your most important messages. So if you look at the screenshot here, priority inbox splits your inbox into three sections: the important and unread category, the starred category, and then the everything else category. And messages are automatically categorized as they arrive in your inbox using a variety of signals to predict which messages are important, like the people you email the most, which messages you tend to open and reply to, and a variety of other signals. Priority inbox gets smarter with time, so you can teach it, if it's not optimized to your usage pattern, you can mark certain messages as important or not, and it will get better as you use it. We tested priority inbox thoroughly at Google with both Googlers and trusted testers, and we found that people spend 6% less time on email after enabling this feature, which translates to roughly 1 week's worth of time saved each year for information workers who typically spend 13 hours per week on email today. Moving on, the next thing I wanted to tell you about today is the ability to view Microsoft Word doc and docx attachments in the browser. So if you receive Microsoft Word files as attachments in Gmail, you can now view them with a single click. No need to download, save, and open files with a desktop application when you just want to read them. So the Google Docs viewer that allows you to view PDF, PowerPoint, TIFF files in your browser now also supports doc and docx formats as well. Another new feature we launched this quarter is rich text signatures. So it's another one of our long requested features, and so now you can write your own rich text signature right in Gmail. In Gmail settings, you'll see a rich text editor in the signature section, and you can customize your signature by adding formatting links or images. For more advanced users who have multiple addresses that they can send email from within their Gmail accounts, we also support the ability to have different signatures for each of those addresses. The next thing I wanted to tell you about is the ability to drag and drop attachments from Gmail. So you may be familiar with the ability to drag and drop attachments into Gmail when you're proposing a new message. And this quarter we launched this nifty feature. When you're using Google Chrome, you can actually, if you receive an email that has an attachment in it, you can just click on the attachment and drag it onto your desktop. Another feature we launched in the Gmail settings, page is the ability to send a vacation reply to your organization only. So now you have the option to only send your vacation response to other people in your domain and not to external recipients. Moving on to mobile access, we also updated the Gmail app for Android. So a new version of the Gmail app is now available in the Android market, and this app is no longer tied to Android version releases anymore. New features in this application include important message actions that stick to the top of the screen, one click away no matter how long the email is. The ability to view previous message contents more easily, just like in the desktop version of Gmail. You can tap Show Quoted Text to reveal the previous message. And limited support for priority inbox, which we just mentioned a few moments ago. So if you've enabled priority inbox through the desktop version of Gmail, you will see an important label that shows all the messages flagged as important on your mobile phone. Moving on to Google Calendar, we launched a new events page. Among the changes included in this new page are simplified layouts and making the style more consistent with other apps. We've also added a very handy feature called the new repeating events editor and a new tool to help you find a time for your events and work better across time zones. So if you're trying to schedule events, you can load up. In the screenshot here, you'll see I've loaded up three different calendars, and I'm able to quickly visualize what time looks free for the meeting participants. Lastly, we also added in Google Calendar the ability to set your default working hours for events. So in the screenshot you're seeing here, I'm being told that the meeting I'm trying to schedule is outside the meeting hours or working hours set by OAuth. Still in the world of calendaring, we also added Google Calendar Sync for Microsoft Outlook with support for Outlook 2010. So for those users who are using Microsoft Outlook 2010, they can now keep their calendar in sync with Google Calendar. subject of syncing tool, we also updated Google Apps Sync for Microsoft Outlook with the following new features. So the first important feature we launched here was that if Outlook crashes or doesn't shut down properly during a sync, the utility starts to sync again from a point preceding the crash. So this new method basically ensures that you won't be missing any messages. We also launched the ability to overwrite your local profile with data from the cloud. So updating just the data type that you select, either mail, contacts, or calendar. Lastly, we added the option to delete data from your Outlook profile and then resync it with the cloud to repopulate your profile with data from Google. For a full list of updates to this tool, once again, and throughout the presentation, you can go to the URL listed at the bottom of the screen. So the next category of launches we'll talk about lie in the domain of Google Docs. And really, you can think of Google Docs as our solution intended to provide the best tools for teams to work together. So it's no longer enough to just be able to create documents for these. It's really important for individuals to be able to share them and collaborate on documents. And that's really the driving mission of Google Docs. Starting with optical character recognition, which we launched in Google Docs this quarter. So Google Docs now supports the importing of scanned documents and allowing you to edit the converted documents in Google Docs. So the way this works is if you go to Google Docs and you go to the upload page, you can check a check mark that says convert text from PDF or image files to Google Docs documents. You can then upload a scanned image, either a JPEG, a GIF, a PNG, or a PDF. And Google Docs will extract text and formatting from the scans. You can then edit the converted documents. This is also a neat example of leveraging technology that happens across the company. We have developed some expertise in OCR from the Google Books project, which some of you may be familiar with, where we scan millions of books and make them available online. And so this is a neat example of cross-pollination technology across Google's platforms. Another very neat feature we've launched in Google Docs this year is the ability, or this quarter rather, is the ability to translate documents in up to 53 different languages. So this is very straightforward. If you're in Google Docs, you can now automatically translate your documents from one language to another. This is another really compelling and unique example of leveraging the power of the cloud. This is very clearly, for reasons that are obvious, something that you wouldn't easily be able to do on a desktop client. You would have to have kind of the full dictionary of the language installed, and some really advanced processing capability for this type of work to be done on your local machine. But when you're working on the web, and once again, we spoke earlier about cross-pollination of technology. Here we're using the technology from Google Translate, which, as some of you may know, is something we've been working on for quite some time, to be able to pull in that translation ability and use it in Google Docs. So, in literally a matter of seconds, you can take a very long document in one language and have it translated into another language seamlessly. Another neat launch we had this quarter in Google Docs is the introduction of new web fonts. So, as background, for a long time, the set of fonts that you've seen when you browse the web has been quite limited, and that's because you can only use a font that's already been installed on your computer. So if you're a website designer and you want all of your visitors to see the same thing, then you could only use fonts that are so ubiquitous that the chances are high that every computer visiting your website will have them. And there are only a handful of fonts that fit that bill. But all modern browsers now support the ability to download web fonts. And a web font doesn't need to be installed on your local computer. It can be read directly from the web server and used immediately on the web page that you're loading. So using this technology, we introduced 6 new fonts on Google Docs, including the ones that you see on the screen here. And we'll introduce a lot more in the months to come. Earlier we mentioned that really kind of the heart and soul of Google Docs is this notion of collaboration. And one launch we have this quarter is the ability to have collaborative highlighting. This is as straightforward as it sounds, but it's actually quite useful when you're editing a document, in the sense that it makes it easier to predict what changes are about to be made. And the way this works is quite straightforward and illustrated on the screenshot here, but you can basically see the text that other people are selecting in real time. For further background and as a reminder, the real-time aspect of Google Docs obviously extends to the actual edits being made by participants as well. So one of the major last April is the ability to see character by character what people are typing. And so this quarter we kind of extended that and took it to the next evolution, which was collaborative highlighting as well. Moving on to Google Forms. For those of you who aren't familiar with Google Forms, it's part of Google Spreadsheets, and basically it's a tool that lets you very easily create forms or surveys that you can use to poll your teams or teammates or friends even, and get information fed into a spreadsheet quite seamlessly. So one feature we've added this quarter in Google Forms is the ability to have simple page navigation to direct respondents to different pages depending on their answers. You'll see here in the screenshot that there are a variety of options you can select for a given question, and depending on the option you select, you'll go to a different page in the form. Moving on to Google Spreadsheets, we have launched Incel dropdown and data validation. So what this means is it makes it easy to constrain the values of an individual cell to a specific range or list. So, for example, if you're planning a business trip, say, you could create an array such that people could only get information about 4 different cities. They could select from a list with 4 different cities and then get information about those specific cities. Basically, Incel dropdowns make input easier by reducing unnecessary typing and errors in processing. And you can create dropdown lists in individual cells through the data validation tool, which is pictured on the screenshot, by validating against the range of cells in your sheet or by creating a custom list, as I mentioned earlier. We also launched new printing options for Google Spreadsheets. So, with the power of the cloud, you have access to your files from basically any device without needing to print out anything. But we understand that there are occasions when you still need to print. That's why this quarter we were happy to announce 2 new features for printing, selection printing and gridless printing. So these 2 options allow you not only to customize your printouts, but also to save ink in the process. So with selection printing, fairly straightforward, you can print a highlighted section from your spreadsheet. And the new option to not print default grid lines is valuable if you're trying to print a handout or save the link. The next launch we wanted to cover today is with regards to Google Drawings, which is the drawings or graphics editing software that we launched in last April. This tool has been getting progressively better, and one of the features we launched this quarter is a new curve tool. So, sometimes scribbles just don't cut it, and you need more powerful curve tools in Google Drawings. And so we launched a tool that does just that, based on cardinal points, for those of you who are familiar with the terminology in this space. But basically, the new curves can be left open or closed and can be filled or unfilled. And you can also adjust points on the curve after drawing it. It's worth mentioning here as we talk about the ecosystem of Google Docs that we have a cloud, what we call the cloud board. It's basically a tool that lets you very easily copy and paste items from different editors in Google Docs. And so in the case of Google Drawings, you can very easily, once you're done editing a drawing, copy it and paste it into another document. Or if you're actually editing a document, you can just select insert and then insert the drawing from there as well. We had a brief word about mobile earlier, and I wanted to circle back there to mention a new Google Docs viewer for mobile. So just as earlier we mentioned that you can view PDFs, PowerPoint files, Microsoft Word files in Gmail when you receive them as an attachment. Well, using the new Google Docs viewer for mobile, if you have uploaded these documents to your Google Docs list, you can very easily see them once again without needing to download heavy software onto your phone. You can just using the phone's browser view these files. And so in the screenshots here, you'll see I had my Google Docs list with a Word document, a PDF, and a PowerPoint document that I uploaded. And so you'll see this is actually the deck we're going through today, where I clicked on the deck from my mobile phone and was able to start seeing the slides, all using the phone's browser. Just a brief word on availability. This release concerns Android, iPhone, and iPad devices. The next set of features I wanted to talk to you about today is about Google Sites. Google Sites is a simple, what you see is what you get, site editor. haven't tried the tool yet, that no HTML or kind of web coding experience is required at all in order to use this tool. It's quite easy to get up and running and create websites from either from the many templates that we offer or just from kind of a scratch blank layout, and embed various things in your website and invite other people to collaborate. So an extremely powerful tool to which we've launched a couple of updates this quarter, starting with horizontal navigation and a global footer. So these are fairly straightforward. You can now add horizontal navigation to your site's layout in one of three different options. We have boxes, tabs, and links, which are illustrated on the screenshot here. You can also set your site to have a global footer that displays across all pages on the site. And the third thing to mention here is the ability to add quick links to open Google Docs that are embedded on a Google site, making it easier for collaborators to open embedded documents. So if you'll see on the second screenshot here, there is a document that I embedded on the site, and if it so happens that my collaborators or the people viewing the site have access to that document, then they can click the link and actually open up that Google Doc in its native editor, so they can add comments or make changes as they want. It's worth noting that if they were to open the documents and start making some changes, those would be reflected in real time on the Google site. So if someone didn't have the ability or the access to open a document, they could still see the changes being made as the doc is embedded on the site. The next feature we launched in Google Sites is page organization through drag and drop. Page organization is an important part of using Google Sites, especially when you want to make a lot of changes to your site structure. So to make it easier and to save you time, we just enable drag and drop functionality in the pages area of site management. In the screenshot you'll see here, you have the ability to move pages. So in this case, we have selected a page called HR, and we're trying to move it into or under the Our Company section of the site. The next thing we wanted to talk to you about today, we already covered Gmail, Calendar, Docs, and Sites, but one of the exciting announcements we made earlier this year is that a lot more Google applications were coming to Google Apps. So for background, last May we announced details about changes to the Google Apps account infrastructure that would allow access to other Google services beyond the core suite of messaging and collaboration apps that are already available in Google Apps today. This change will let users access many new services such as Blogger, Reader, Google Voice, calling in Gmail, Picasa Web Albums, AdWords, and iGoogle, all from their Google Apps account. And the reason I'm bringing this up today is that the ability to opt into the new infrastructure for Google Apps is now open. We launched this quarter for early adopters who meet the eligibility criteria. And what I mean by that is that early adopters will see a couple of functionalities before the new infrastructure is feature complete, which should be in the next few months. To be clear, what I mean by eligibility criteria, so right now administrators do not yet have the ability to turn off access to any of these additional services as they can today for applications within the core suite. And a few of the additional Google applications are not compatible with the new Google Apps infrastructure at this time, including Google Health, YouTube, Web History, Google Buzz, and Google Profiles. So all of which are going to be integrated in the new account infrastructure. We're just not quite there yet, so that we're expecting that to happen shortly. But for now, the new infrastructure is available to early adopters. So if there are any early adopters in the crowd, I would encourage you to learn more and enable access to a much wider set of services for your users. The next category of updates I want to talk to you about today relates to the Google Apps Marketplace. And this kind of ties into the previous slides about Google Apps, more applications coming to Google Apps. But just previously I was talking about Google products, more Google products coming to Google Apps. And the way to think of the Google Apps Marketplace is to get non-Google products that extend Google Apps to meet all of your business needs. And so for background, we have often been asked in the past, when is Google coming out with a CRM tool, or when is Google coming out with, a financial auditing tool, or other things of that sort. And while we are very excited about building new products, and we will continue having kind of a steady stream of new innovative products coming in our Google Apps suite, the reality is that Google is not positioned to build products for every possible industry or sector. And so the Google Apps Marketplace is the way that we wanted to enable a wider array of products for our Google Apps customers. So we launched the Google Apps Marketplace only 6 months ago, and 6 months into the life of this marketplace, more than 4 million Google Apps users have a marketplace app installed on their domain, and there are now over 200 integrated applications that are available to Google Apps users, covering customer relationship management, accounting, finance, project management, and much more. Almost every week we get third-party applications that are joining the apps marketplace to address an ever-expanding range of business needs, with over 30 new apps in the last 3 months alone. And so this slide provides further background on the Google Apps Marketplace. But in a nutshell, you can very easily discover, purchase, and install web apps that integrate seamlessly with Google Apps. The idea being to move your entire business to the cloud. If you've already adopted Google Apps for your messaging and collaboration, then you should, we believe, be able to bring the rest of your business in the cloud by installing some of these tools. This is just a screenshot of the marketplace homepage, but once again, steady father of applications coming in every week, including all of the categories listed here on the screen, and many more. And then the last big category of launches we want to cover today have to do with administrative controls. And so the goal here is really to deliver business-grade management tools for Google Apps administrators, providing integration tools so they can connect Google Apps with existing technology, and providing a secure and reliable experience for all users on Google Apps. So let's start with another very, very big enterprise ask that we were excited to address this quarter, which is user policy management. So previously, Google Apps used to be a one-size-fits-all solution wherein all the services could be turned on or off, but that setting would then apply to all the users in the organization. Now, administrators can segment their users into organizational units and control which applications are enabled or disabled for each group. So, for example, a manufacturing company might want to give their office workers access to Google Doc, but not to their production line employees. Organizations can also use this functionality to test applications with pilot users before making them more widely available. So if you launched a new service, for example, you could choose to enable that just for your IT department and try it out there before moving it and making it available to the rest of your organization. The ability to toggle services on or off is also helpful for customers that are making the move to Google Apps from on-premise environments. So, for example, a business can enable just the collaboration tools like Google Docs and Google Sites for users who haven't yet moved off old on-premise messaging solutions. Just to be clear, the screenshot you're seeing here features the organizational tree on the left. So in this case, the name of the domain is Solar Mora, and you'll see that we have two different kind of sub-branches of the organization, development, and then, or 4 different branches, sorry, development, finance, legal, and support, and then within development, you'll see that we broke it down into operations, products, and testing. And so you would have the granular ability to set Google products on or off for each one of those trees. So along with user policy management, we also launched the new ability to manage users across multiple domains. And so thousands of organizations deploy Google Apps every day, and a challenge for some large businesses has been migrating employees on multiple domains. So Google Apps administrators can now manage multiple domains from one control panel in Google Apps. Users from different domains preserve their original email address, but all users are on the organization's global address list, calendars, and docs and sites can be shared throughout the entire organization. So between multi-domain support and user policy management, these are two very important and useful features that we launched for Google Apps administrators this quarter. The next set of launches to talk about kind of within the administrative side of things is security. Google Apps is really built on trust, and we recognize that organizations expect us to properly secure their data and respect the privacy of their information. So we take data security and privacy extremely seriously, and in recent months we've continued to build out our security with several launches that I want to tell you about. Beginning with two-step verification. So cloud computing is really about making your information easily accessible from anywhere and on any device. But until today, until this quarter rather, organizations looking to secure their information beyond just the password have faced high costs and complexity companies that have prevented many of them from using stronger security technologies. And this quarter we changed that with the introduction of a more secure sign-in capability for Google Apps accounts that really increases the security of the cloud, which is called two-step verification. It's really easy to set up, manage, and use. When enabled by the Google Apps administrator, it basically requires two means of identification to sign into a Google Apps account. Something you know, which is your password, and something that you have, which is a mobile phone. So it doesn't require any special tokens or standalone devices, but basically, after you're entering your password and you're setting it up for the first time, the verification code is sent to your mobile phone via SMS, voice calls, or generated on an application that you can install on your Android, BlackBerry, or iPhone device. And it makes it a lot more likely that you're the only person accessing your data. Even if someone has stolen your password, they'll need more than that to access your account. And then you can also indicate when you're using a computer that you trust and you don't want to be asked for a verification code from that machine in the future. So this technology is one that has been available for very large companies for a long time, but Google is really democratizing access to this more secure technology by rendering it available for no additional fee to Google Apps customers. Staying in the field of security, another launch we had just this week actually is OAuth support on the Google Apps APIs. So until this week, Google Apps administrators had to sign requests for calls to Google Apps APIs using their username and password, which is called a client login authorization. But sharing passwords across sites can pose serious security risks, as you can imagine. So furthering our commitment to make the cloud more secure for our users, we now support OAuth authorization on Google Apps APIs. And there are several advantages to this. OAuth is more secure because OAuth tokens can be scoped and set to expire by a certain date. OAuth is customizable. Using OAuth, you can create tokens that scripts can only use to access data of a particular scope when calling Google Apps APIs. So, for example, you could generate a token set to call the email migration API, which would not be able to use your credentials to access the Google Apps provisioning API, for example. And lastly, OAuth is an open standard, making it a familiar choice for developers to work with. So for more tech-savvy admins who rely on the Google Apps APIs, this is another security improvement we launched this quarter. The next thing I wanted to talk to you about today with regards to security is FISMA Certification. So Google Apps is the first suite of cloud computing messaging and collaboration applications to receive the Federal Information Security Management Act, or FISMA, certification and accreditation from the U.S. General Services Administration. The FISMA law applies to all information systems in use by the U.S. federal government agencies to help ensure that they are secure. And the federal government's administration has reviewed the documentation of our security controls and issued an authorization to operate. This review makes it easier for federal agencies to compare our security features to those of other existing systems. And most agencies we worked with have found that Google Apps provides at least equivalent, if not better, security than what they have today. So this means that government customers can move to the cloud with confidence. And we found that for businesses that are not government affiliated, this has been an important seal of approval, that the seal of approval from the government has been an important way for us to move the security conversation forward. So it's something we are definitely excited about at Google. Lastly, the last security-related feature we launched this quarter is a new mobile device management control. So earlier this year, we announced support for mobile device security policies in Google Apps to help administrators manage iPhones, Nokia phones, and Windows mobile devices from the Google Apps control panel. These policies let employees access information from their phones while helping administrators keep corporate data more secure. This quarter, we announced new mobile device management options for Google Apps administrators, including the options to require devices to use data encryption, to auto-wipe a device after a specific number of failed password attempts, to disable the phone's camera, ensure old passwords are not reused, require passwords to be changed after specified time intervals, and lastly, disabling data synchronization when device is roaming to reduce wireless changes or charges rather, when employees are traveling abroad. And we'll conclude our overview today with a word about migration tools. So while the majority of Google Apps customers choose to go Google quickly without transferring old data from their previous environment, many companies are reluctant to step into the future without bringing along some emails, calendar entries, and contacts from the past. So to that end, we released several data migration utilities that help organizations move from their previous technology solution. As it says on the slide, our customers have migrated more than 2 billion email messages to Google Apps to date. And just to give you a sense of scale, in one analysis that we did on a 2-month sample, more than 14 million calendar events and 6 million contacts were migrated to Google Apps from Microsoft Exchange and Lotus Notes. But going into the specifics, we launched updates to the Google Apps migration from Microsoft Exchange tool, which simplifies migration of email, calendar, and contacts from both hosted and on-premise versions of Microsoft Exchange to Google Apps. So the new version of the tool has IMAP support, so administrators can now use the tool's IMAP capabilities to migrate emails from systems like Novel GroupWise to Google Apps.